Hello, I'm John and welcome to another Arty class tutorial hosted by Shopkeep Arty, the online platform helping everyone to be inspired, learn new art skills and have fun. Today we're zooming to England where we're going to be joining textile artist Katy Rundle to create a magical sunset using fabrics. I'm really looking forward to this one. So why do we broadcast these shows live? Well, if you really want to improve your own skills, live is proven to be the best way to do it, as you can follow the steps and ask insightful questions of the artist as you think of them. If you're watching a recording of this event, I'd highly recommend trying out a live event yourself. Our weekly Arty classes are free, so there's really no excuse. Simply visit our website and book a place on a future show. All links can be found in the description below. So without further ado, let's hit the travelometer to the left of me and go and see Katy. So Katy is a professional textile artist whose art is not what it first seems. From a distance, her art can be mistaken for painting, but up close you realise it's created from fabric collage and free motion embroidery. Katy's art is unique and joyful and has been purchased by people from around the world. She's also appeared in Landscape Artist of the Year in 2018. Hello, Katy.
Hello. I love that zoom in, Matt. Great.
Yeah, do you like it? It kind of zooms in, doesn't it? Feels like we're all going on a holiday, which is fantastic. And so this is our first show together, so I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing today with this sunset. So now let me leave you to kind of get prepared and get ready, and I'll just finish my short introduction. So Shopkeep Arty holds a number of live shows throughout the week, and these free art class webinars are designed to give you a good introduction to a featured artist as well as a short, sharp boost of creative inspiration. We're continually hunting out leading artists from around the world, giving you the opportunity of spending some time with them and experiencing different multicultural influences. With limited time in these 45-minute classes, it's difficult to create a complete work of art. However, you should get a good feel for what might be accomplished if you had more time. Therefore, around halfway, we'll take a pause and I'll ask Katy to expand on her full 2 to 3 hour workshop webinar that's going to be taking place next week. These full workshop events have restricted numbers where the artist is paid for their time, so it's a really great event. Obviously I'll talk more about that at half time. So without further ado, let's go back to Katy and we'll make a start on this glorious sunset. Back with you, Katy.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Right, so we're doing a sunset today, but it's not putting all the paints to one side. This is all about fabrics and everything, and I think you've got a collection of things, and I don't know whether people at home will have your own fabrics or whatever, so you can either sit back and watch and be inspired, but if you do have your own fabrics and you've collected those, follow along with Katy.
Hi. Yes, I've had some messages saying people are ready with their fabrics prepped, and I realise that some people won't have fabrics. Some people won't have everything that I put on the list of things that you need and just want to see what it's all about. So
exactly.
What, 45 minutes? We better get started.
Yeah, let's get cracking. Right, so you've got the picture of the sunset in front of you here, which is lovely, and you've probably got we're going to be bringing lots of things into shot. So you've got some fabrics that you've already compiled. I don't know whether you want to show those or how you want to start.
Well, I'm happy to start with the picture and then we'll go from there if you like.
Okay, fine. Let's do that.
So this image is one that I've taken from the internet. I looked up sort of copyright free images, license free images that you can download and print out. And I thought this might be a good image for us to do in this 45 minutes because I think we can simplify it. You will have seen on the advert the actual piece that we're going to be aiming to make in the time. And to start it off, we need just a piece of backing fabric, which I use a piece of calico, just a piece of plain cotton. I think I'll keep the photograph there because we're going to use it for an idea of where we're going to cut pieces of fabric. I gave an idea of the different colours of fabric you might want to choose, and this is my selection that I'm going to use in this piece here. Let me bring them down a bit so you can see at the top of the screen.
Okay, yeah.
I'll bring the photograph down a bit.
Marion said she's got her sewing machine out the ready, so well done, Marion.
Fantastic, well done. So we'll come to the machine part will be in the second half. To start with, we'll just build the collage. Now I've got what I've termed my sort of light, medium and dark, sorry, you can't see my hand, light, medium and dark colour fabrics for the sea and the sky. And then for the sunset fabrics, I've got what my orange, my yellow and my white. And part of what I like using is different patterns within the build up of the collage piece itself. And so I thought I've got a few different fabrics here than were in the piece that you will have seen on the advert, which was this one.
Yeah.
But this is what we're aiming for today. So to start with, if you have a look at the photograph, you'll see that sort of roughly halfway down the image, we've got the sea level. So I think we'll do a half and half image with the fabrics. To start with, at the top of your piece of calico, I think we'll go for half of your darkest grey or blue for the bottom half, and I'm going to cut a piece of that now. I've got this batik fabric. Sorry, I'm not going for the very darkest. I'm going to go for the medium one. This is the one I'm going to go for the sea for me, which is my medium grey. So the medium grey, we're going to go for halfway down the calico fabric. So I'm going to cut a piece that will line up roughly with halfway. You want to do the same. I've backed all my pieces of fabric with Bondaweb already. And I did have a message from someone saying they couldn't get Bondaweb where they were living. And that's fine. You don't have to have Bondaweb. I didn't used to use it. I used to just pin my fabrics and then sew them. And so you can do that if you want to, or you can use other fusibles. There are other makes other than Bondaweb. If anyone has any questions about how to use Bondaweb, do let me know, because I can do a quick demo of how I apply the Bondaweb on the back of the fabric.
Okay, and it just kind of sticks it down, a bit like Pritt Stick or something like that, is it?
Well, it doesn't do anything until you apply heat.
Right,
but
okay.
It forms a film on the back of the fabric, which will stick if I put a hot iron on it.
Ah, okay, that's good.
I'm just going to hold that piece of fabric in the center there with a bit of heat. I'm not holding down the edge yet, because I might slip my sunset strip, which is the orange strip. I might slip that under the edge of that, because that's quite an edge I've got on the fabric there.
And is it quite a tight bond when you've put the iron on it? Is it quite...
It can, depends how long you leave the iron on for. You see, I can still peel it off if I want to.
Okay.
But it'll hold nice and still.
And Els has said that they're ready to go from Holland, which is great. And Elaine from Scotland. And Jennifer says, I've got a sack full of clothes that I've thrown out from a wardrobe sort out. So she's got a whole sack of clothes that she can use, which is fantastic.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got the bottom half is going to be our mid blue grey, whatever you've got there. And then for our top part of the sky, we're going to go for our light grey, the lightest grey. Mine isn't that light, to be honest, but I'm going to put that at the top of my fabric. I'm leaving a little gap because that's where the orange is going to go, but the orange could easily go on top if you join them up. So you could join them up, and that could be your sea line and your sky line. You can see mine's got some stars in, which I thought was quite funky for the sky, but I'm just going to put that one there.
Charmaine's asked, is the Bondaweb a spray, or do you brush it on?
No, let me show you then. I'll show you quickly.
Okay.
Bondaweb comes on a roll. It comes on sheets. This is a tiny little piece of it, just to show you what it looks like. And this is the box of it that I have. There are different makes of Bondaweb, but Vlisafix is the one that, or Vlisaline is the one that I have. But there are different types. If you just look up Bondaweb, it's a trademark name. Different makes might come up for you. But to use Bondaweb, so this is the fabric that I'm using in the sea. You put Bondaweb on the reverse of your fabric, which is quite obvious, I suppose. The Bondaweb itself is sort of smooth on one side, and you can feel it's granular on the other side, it's rough. You put the rough side down onto the back of your fabric, and then you just have a hot iron on the back of it, and it says for 5 to 10 seconds, just rub over the paper of the Bonder web. And then you have to leave it to cool. If you try and peel this off while it's still steaming and hot, it often won't work. The sticky film will come away with the fabric sometimes. So you actually have to leave it to cool. I'll give it a bit of a wave around, see if I can cool it down quickly. Yeah, that's it. And then the backing paper will just peel off, and you've got a piece of fabric then that will stick to another if you use a hot iron on it. So it's as simple as that. It's not tricky. It's just about a bit of patience waiting for it to cool down before you take the paper off. Okay, so we've got our 2 strips. We've got the sky strip, we've got the sea strip and the sky strip. And now I'm going to put in this area of orange sky between the 2. I'm just going to cut, and I'm going to cut it in a slightly wavy fashion because nature isn't all straight lines by any means. So I'm going to...
Now, Susie asked, was that a special craft iron that you used when you were ironing the fabric?
No, it's actually an ancient travel iron.
Oh, is it? Brilliant.
Yeah, and in fact, my husband had in his suitcase, and I thought, oh, that'll be perfect, rather than a great big iron next to me on the table. Yeah.
Jennifer also said that she uses fabric on canvas glue, glue it on with PVA glue, then paint over with acrylic paint.
Okay.
Fabric on canvas, glue it on with PVA glue, then paint over with acrylic paint. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Media use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be my orange strip, which, as I say, it doesn't have to be a nice straight line, or it can be a bit wavy. It's totally free form. Someone did send me a message saying, oh, where's the sketch, or is there a pattern that we need to use? And I said, no, because we're just going to be doing, this is going to be mainly out of strips to make it, that looks a bit boring and straight to me. So I'm going to put a bit more of a wave in that line of orange fabric, I think. For us to be able to do it in the time that we've got, or as near as damn it, we need to make this as simple as possible.
Do you own different scissors with different perforated things, or do you typically just use
these are a really nice pair of sort of huge fabric scissors, so they'll cut really nicely, but I have other scissors that I will only use with paper. If I was cutting something with the Bonder web still on the back, I would only use my sort of paper scissors for that.
Okay.
So you can make this orange part larger or smaller as you feel. It doesn't, there's no rules as such to this. So if we look back at the photograph, we can see that there are some sort of wispy clouds further up in the sky. And I'm going to do those with what I've termed my white fabric, which is actually quite a patterned piece of fabric, but you can see that predominantly it's white. I just thought this might be a fun piece to see how this works. So we'll do the clouds next. And I'm going to do one sort of wavy strip of white cloud. And then I'm going to, as in the photograph here, I'm going to do another strip that sort of tapers off into a bit of a point there. But again, do whatever you feel, really. This is just about having a bit of fun and giving you an idea of how easy it is to build up a picture. It's so weird not being able to hear anybody's voice when you...
You can hear mine, Katie. There you go. Lucky you.
Yes. Okay, sorry, and I keep forgetting that you can't see down where I've got my hands. So let's see. Should be using my smaller scissors. Maybe I will use my smaller scissors. If you're not confident about just going for it ad hoc with a pair of scissors, you can always draw on the back of your fabric with a pencil or a pen. I've got some fabric pens here that I can use, which will disappear with water. I don't know if people are aware of these sort of pens. This one is a water erasable marker, so you can, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Water erasable marker. Okay.
So that means you can draw, you can even draw on the front of your fabrics if you want, and then if you spray some water over the top when you're finished, those marks will disappear. Okay, so this doesn't really look much like a landscape yet, but I'm going to do another, like I say, I'm going to do a thinner cloud that goes into a point, I think. Hopefully everyone's busy beavering away with what they're creating. Okay. So these are quite unusual looking clouds, but I'm just going to press those in place. Like so. Okay, when we look at the sky again, we've got clouds that are actually quite orange, like this orange part down here, and some that are sort of looking more yellow. I've got quite an interesting yellow fabric here, which I have never used before. It's called Onion Rings, and I think it's a design by Brandon Mabley. It's part of the K-Facet collective fabrics that are used a lot in quilting. And I thought this might be quite fun to use in some more clouds across the sky. So I'm going to do some more wavy lines. And I'm going to make them thinner than the orange strip, similar sort of probably width to the slimmer white cloud at the top.
Now, Margaret said, for your information, clover pens will not disappear if you iron over the pen lines first. So I don't know whether you've ever tried that, but don't iron over the clover pen lines.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Angela said that she likes using a rotary cutter when cutting out irregular wavy shapes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I've used those for quilting, but I don't tend to use them when I'm building a collage like this. But yeah, they're great for doing those jobs. And now everything doesn't have to be exactly horizontal to the horizon. So you can put things at an angle if you like, because in the sky itself, clouds aren't necessarily always in a straight line, are they? So you can just place them wherever you think, and then you can take a step back perhaps and have a look and see what you think of what you've done so far. So I don't know, can you see what I'm doing so far? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So also looking again at the photograph here, we've got some lighter yellow areas that are running across where the sun is down in the sky. So I think I'm going to put in an irregular piece of sort of this onion ring design, this yellowy orange piece across here as well.
Kim said that Fixion pens erase when ironed, so that's another brand, I guess.
Okay, well, this is all good information because I don't use them that much myself. I've used them on some pieces I've done, but not many, to be fair. And I tend to, if I'm going to use a pen, I use it on the back of the fabric rather than on the front.
So Jennifer, who talked about using the glue technique and everything before, has said it's all looking very exciting and unusual. Think I'm going to ditch the glue.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I mean, glue can be a bit more fiddly when you're trying to do something quickly, I think.
Oh, Kim said they're called Frixion pens. Sorry, there was a spelling mistake, so it's Frixion.
In my fabric design, I've got all these circles, and I think I might use this circle design. This is where, you know, having different pattern fabrics can inspire you to do different things with them. But I think I'm going to use this circle design in the cloud behind the sun. So I'm going to cut a piece there.
Oh, that's a good idea. How much time do you deliberate on the fabrics before even making a start on something like this?
Yeah, sometimes quite a lot of time. Yeah, I mean, that's the real fun part, is sort of working out what will work for this piece.
Yeah.
I was going to use all the same fabrics as I'd used in the demo piece that was in the advert for this arty class.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, why not just try something different and see what other fabrics I had. So I had to look through the drawers and sort of came out with this one. But I'm going to offset my sun to one side in this collage. The great thing about Bonder Web as well on the reverse of your fabrics is it does stabilize the edges, because some fabrics can really fray if you cut small pieces, and when you stitch into them they can start disintegrating, which can look really messy, which doesn't tend to happen if you've got the Bonder Web on the back, which is really helpful. Okay, so I think apart from putting in a sun itself, which as you can see in the photograph looks really white, so I'm going to use a little white circle for that. Maybe I'll do that before we move on into the sea. So, you know, again, you can choose the size of your sun. If you want to make it larger than it looks in that photo, that's fine. The photo is just there as sort of a reference guide, but I'm going to, the other thing I don't know if you can see on the photograph, although the sun isn't completely round by any means, it's sort of round, but then it's got this sort of glow of a halo underneath it. So I think I'm going to cut a piece that reflects that sort of shape. And I might use one of these markers. I don't know which is my newest, I don't know, but let's try this one. And I'm going to make the shape within one of the white shapes within this fabric design, I think. So it's going to be a bit like, that's not going to be good in that shape. I'm going to do it here. It's going to be sort of like an upside down sort of mushroomy shape, I think. Or a flying saucery shape. Right, that's what I'm going to do. Now I have to be careful not to iron over this before I've stuck it down, won't I? Before I've erased the pen, I mean.
Yeah. I guess you can always stitch over the pen marks if they didn't erase.
Yeah, yeah. So that is going to go roughly in there somewhere. I've got a little spray bottle of water, she says. So hopefully that will that makes the blue marks disappear. Oh, that's great. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. Then we're moving down into the sea area. There are some darker areas which are, particularly in the foreground here, they're actually waves coming in, aren't they? These dark areas. So I'm going to put my darkest material, I'm going to put some strips in to represent these waves, and a couple of really thin pieces at the top that are further away, so they would be smaller. So I'm going to put in a couple of thin pieces of very dark fabric up at in this first part of the sea, and then I'm going to put in 2 or 3 thicker pieces of my darkest fabric. And I'm going to use this batik fabric, which is actually a mixture of tones, but I'm going to try and use the pieces I'm going to try and cut the strips, I think, in these darker areas, so that hopefully they'll work to add a bit of texture and depth to the wave formations. And this is a piece that's got the Bonder Web still on the back, which I haven't taken off yet. So where's the darkest areas? I think going through here. I don't know if anyone's using different colours to these. Be interesting to know.
Well, at the end, I'll inform everybody about our Facebook post that we've created, especially for this arty class. Yeah. And what people normally do is they post up their creations, photos afterwards. So really looking forward to seeing those.
Yes, that'll be really fascinating to see how people have interpreted this image with what they have to hand. I'm going to do quite a thin strip, I think.
About the bonder web, Elaine asked, once you take the backing off, can it be left, or are you better keeping the backing on until you need it?
Oh no, well, I back large pieces of fabric at a time and then just leave it in my drawers as it is backed. So it seems to be fine for me to do that. I haven't had any issues with it. So
okay, great.
You can back it and leave it.
Lena says the fun is in finding just the right patterns in the fabrics. Yeah, I bet you can hunt around. There's so many fabrics out there. It's obviously.
Yeah, but also I think the fun is working with what you've got and seeing how it looks. So like I've tried this pebble, it's not called pebble, is it? I think it's called labels, this fabric, in the sky. And I'm not really sure how that's going to work until I've finished it, whether it really works or not. But it is fun to try out different things. And if I got to the end and thought, oh, actually that doesn't work, I would just peel it off and replace it with something different. So you see, I've gone from a slimmer piece of fabric, slightly thicker, to a thicker again here. And
a sense of perspective, I guess.
Yeah. Trying to do that. And I might leave it at that and then go in for another lighter strip reflecting where the sand starts after this wave in the foreground. I might put a strip of the orange in, or actually I think I'm going to go for the yellowy, more of the yellowy colour.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Because I guess we're approaching half time, so I think if we can try and finish the fabric bit and then we can move on to the sewing bit.
Yeah, sure.
Was that what was in your mind?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. God, time flies, doesn't it? When
I know. How long would a piece of this size normally take you, Katy?
Oh, I'd probably take the day over it to something like that.
There's nothing like time pressure.
No, indeed. Indeed there isn't. Right. I think as well, I would prefer to have cut that piece on the opposite orientation of the fabric, because the lines are going the wrong way for the design. If you I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
yeah, I think so. So it's going across.
Yeah, I think that would work a lot better if we had the pattern going horizontally rather than vertically, although with the pattern that changes direction all the way.
Yeah, because they're all circular, aren't they? So okay.
Yeah. So I think it would work better if it was that way, but I can change it for that. Okay, right. There's one other bit of that's important for this piece that we need to add before I go on to the stitching. And as I say, if I don't get far with the stitching, it's not that important. But it's this reflection that comes through the whole piece here.
Yes.
We really need to address that before we stop. So I'm going to use a little piece of this again. I'm going to put it beneath the sun, and then I'm going to just look at sort of what size my sun is. That's a bit wider than that. Let's go across, cut across here. The sun is there. I'm just going to look at doing a very simple shape that slightly goes wider as you come down towards the bottom of the fabric. So sort of a wedge shape basically is what I'm going to cut. And then in order to try and make it look a bit like the shimmer on the sea, I'm going to go onto the reverse of the fabric here and just do little V's in, or alternate V's in, that are going to be my sort of cutting guides. And what'll happen when I cut, obviously, these alternate V's out, is I'll end up with a zigzag of fabric. And I'll curve off the corners so that it's a soft sort of curvy zigzag rather than a spiky one. This is probably the only bit of fussy cutting that will be needed, really. The rest of it's pretty easy.
But I guess because it's the focal point, really, isn't it, of the whole piece, it's worth it.
Yeah. You can spend a lot longer doing this yourselves at home. I'll just do a bit so that you can get an idea of how it's going to look. Great thing about this batiki fabric that's sort of all speckly is it sort of, in a way, I thought that would work well with the reflections on the sea, all those, because it is sort of sparkly on the sea. But as you said, somebody said themselves, it's part of the fun is sort of working out what fabrics might work for what you're doing. So I thought I've just thrown the piece away I've cut. There it is. So I'm going to cut. Just realized I was going to do more reflections in the sea than I did. I was going to put another thin piece of yellow there. Don't panic, John. I'm not going to take too long. Before I put that in, I'm just going to put another orangey reflection strip in, I think. So if we're looking down from the sun into the sea, this zigzaggy bit, you can cut little sections of it off as it's going through the waves, if you like. And we can accentuate those when we add in the stitch. So this is just to give you an idea.
Ready for a timeout?
Okay, yeah.
Good. Brilliant. So how are you enjoying it? I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? A bit of a new one for us doing a fabric art class, but it's really starting to take shape. I love the reflections coming just out of fabrics. It really tricks the mind that you're really looking at a sunset. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, it'd be brilliant if you could press the thumbs up if you're enjoying it. It just ensures that YouTube recommends the class to more people, helping us to spread the benefits of creativity to a wider audience, young and old alike. So thank you if you could do that. By the way, if you press subscribe, you'll also get notified when we launch new arty videos so that you don't miss out. So just a little tip there. As I covered at the start, this 45-minute arty class is a short prelude to Katy's 2 to 3 hour workshop webinar. In our workshops we have a lot more time, and you can speak directly to the artist for guidance should you wish. You can also get a written critique of your art and your creation after the event as well. It's a full package to help you develop your skills as an artist and have some fun. It's also great value when you consider the amount of time that the artist provides. In the case of Katy, the workshop's going to be taking place in exactly 1 week's time, at 3:30 UK time, next Tuesday, the 20th of April. So Katy, what are your, I've got a prop for this question. What are your plans for next week?
Oh, yes, indeed. My plans for next week are to create, shall I put it in front of me or down here? Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. That's the plan for next week, is for us to be able to create this apple piece. Which
that looks amazing.
So it's moving on really from the strips that we're doing just now, which is very sort of free form, to something that's much more sort of considered. And I have provided a pattern, if you like, a paper pattern, if you wanted to use that. You don't have to. I'm going to talk through how I made the pattern, how I look at different tones for the choice of fabrics for different sections of the apple, and then that we'll be spending more time on, you know, how we plan out the stitching to try and give it that 3D form.
So you're going to be going into a lot more depth about the kind of the whole mechanics of laying it all out and setting it all out, as well as obviously creating this lovely piece as well. So brilliant. No, that's brilliant. So now if you are interested in joining us for that amazing workshop next week, now's the time to secure your place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and show you how easy it is to book that. What you do is you visit our website, shopkeeparty.com. You click on the live events section that we just did. You scroll down, and there you can see Katy's upcoming Apple workshop called An Apple a Day, very appropriate. And you can scroll down, you can see the reference that she's just shown us there, also a reference photo, and also that template that Katy was just talking about. She's given you some advice on the sort of materials, but obviously the materials that you actually use are all down to personal preference. If you're interested in booking it, there's a link just there. Click that, it'll go through to Katy's shop. And here you'll see that there's a purchase item for joining the live webinar, where you can ask Katy the questions and just add that to basket. And also there's a video. So if you can't do the live event, you can purchase the full video. But if you are joining the live event, you get a big discount. So you can add that to your cart, and then you can check out with both. So you've got the video and the live webinar entry as well. And it comes to £56, as you can see there. It's in pounds, but if you're obviously purchasing in dollars, when you actually put your card in, your local bank or card will convert that to your local currency. Once we've launched the video, you can visit our video library, scroll down to Katy's video, and so long as you've purchased it and it's been unlocked, you click the watch button, and then you'll be able to watch it as many times as you want. So hopefully that helps. Right, let's go back now to Katy, and we'll start getting the sewing machine out. Right, Katy, how's everything going?
Good, yeah. I'll bring the sewing machine across, and we'll work out camera angle for that.
Susie said, "Oh dear, now I won't even be able to throw away old clothes. My husband is disappearing beneath all my arty clutter." That's quite funny. Brilliant.
Okay. Shall I begin?
Yes. Let's go for it.
While you were just talking there, I don't know if you can see, I cut a few little more wiggles of white fabric to go over where the yellow was.
Okay.
For more reflections in the sea. But anyway, okay, so as you know, well, I'm assuming, maybe you don't know, but to use a free motion embroidery on a machine, you have to drop down the dogs that would normally feed the fabric through if you were trying to do a seam. So, and this allows me then to move the fabric under the needle. Can you see, or do I need to move the?
No, I can see it. It's fine. Yeah, yeah.
So I'll be able to move the fabric freely underneath the needle. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this is literally, as we've built up this piece, it has been built out of strips of fabric. So I'm just going to free machine embroider backwards and forwards along the edges of these pieces of fabric. You know, and there is no wrong to it. If you go over the line, it doesn't matter. It all adds texture and interest to the piece in the end. So I'm going to get going. If my machine makes too much noise, I'm sure John will quiet it. We'll turn down the volume perhaps. But I'm just following the edges here.
I've magically turned down the sound of the sewing machine only. How about that? Pretty good.
And then you can still hear me, can you?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm just going backwards and forwards, and I'm using a pale yellow here, and you can see I've gone way beyond the end of the cloud. That doesn't matter at all. I'm not right along the edge. This is all very free flowing. I'm going to just go down the edge, and then I'm going to go across again. If this kind of machining is new to you, you might find that you're finding it perhaps tricky, but it's just practice and having the confidence just to go with it, not feeling constrained. It's not like dressmaking where it really matters if you've got a straight seam or if you've followed a line exactly. It really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to go backwards and forwards. This is a sort of variegated cotton, so sometimes it'll look quite yellow and sometimes it'll look quite white. And literally, just for simplicity, I've chosen 2 colours for this piece. But if you had lots of time, you might want to choose lots of different colours. You can hear my machine is nothing special. It's been a workhorse, this machine. I got this machine secondhand from an upholstery workshop, so it's done its time, and I think it's
now Linda's asked for the workshop, do they need a sewing machine? And Jennifer said something similar. Can it be sewn by hand? So what are your thoughts on that?
Anything can be sewn by hand. It'll just take you a lot longer, but the principle can easily be applied to hand stitch as well as sewing machine.
Okay, but I guess really, if they did have a sewing machine, it would make things a little bit easier.
Yeah, but you can do the whole collage thing. Obviously, there's no stitching involved, and sort of building up your own pattern and how to collage, and then thinking about the direction of stitch will be what we're talking about. So, so in some ways, you know, the actual stitching there and then isn't that important. It is something that could be done in your own time afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
But
and do you just use regular? Sorry, go on, Katie.
I was just going to say, sorry. If me demonstrating with the actual sewing machine will give you would give obviously a good idea of what it looks like when you have when you're able to do the stitching. But if you don't have the ability, if you don't have the machine, then fine. Yeah, of course you can do it by hand, and the Bonder web actually will hold the design as it is as well. So you can just make the picture without the stitch if you really wanted to. The stitch is sort of is just another level on top of the collar.
It's another layering, isn't it? Which and Trina's asked, do you use just regular sewing threads, or do you use specialty threads? Or
no, I mean these are just regular threads that I've got. Okay. You can use anything you fancy. Again, there are no rules. Do what you fancy. It's for fun, and it's it's for art. It's not, this isn't, you know, we're not going to be sticking this through the sewing machine. It's not a quilt, you know. It's
Yes, yeah, exactly. Now, Els has said that the stitching isn't really shown very well at the moment because of the light from the sewing machine. But we'll have a look at it a bit later. Obviously, we can't quite change that,
okay.
but we're able to pull it out. I don't know whether you're able to
I will.
pull it out from time to time.
For a couple more minutes, and then I'll take it out and I'll show you what I've done. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, perfect.
I'll quick whiz along a bit and get down to the sun, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. At the moment, really, all I'm doing is doing wavy lines backwards and forwards. I'll speed up a bit.
Susie says glittery thread would be fun. Yeah, sure would. Trina said that she loves free motion machine embroidery. It can be very relaxing. Her older machines seem to work much better than the newer ones. So there you go. Okay.
Now, where the sun is, I'm just going to go round and round, basically.
Okay.
I'll show you this in a second. I'll stop the stitching.
Now, I was going to mention later, but I did have an arty-inspired interview with Katy a few weeks ago, all about textiles and fabric things, and we talk about some of her bigger pieces of work. It's really well worth watching that. I'll talk about that a little bit later.
I don't know whether you can see the stitching here. Can you see?
Yeah, we can.
It looks a right mess, to be honest. but the idea is that you'd be going backwards and forwards and then create some sort of halo with stitch around the sun to make that look better than it does. And you see how it's puckered up here? That's because it was wet where
where you sprayed it.
Where I sprayed it, yeah. But it's all reversible with a bit of ironing. And if you do your stitching, and like me, you look at it and you just think, oh gosh, that doesn't look so good. It's so easy just to unpick it and start again. Or just do more stitching. Sometimes more is better. But anyway, shall I carry on a bit more stitching?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, we've still got a few minutes. Margaret says you can get a cheap machine off a sewing machine off Facebook Markets or eBay. Margaret used to teach machine quilting and art quilting in the US, and she says don't ever buy a new Singer machine on there. Buy an inexpensive Janome. That's her tip.
Yeah, I have been looking at getting a Janome next. I don't know quite what I want to get, but to do larger pieces, it would be nice to have a bigger machine, as far as a bigger opening to put my fabrics through. Gosh, to think that somebody teaches machine quilting is watching this is quite horrifying.
Don't feel pressured. We're all one big family.
Yes. Okay, I'm just going to do some zigzags through my reflection wiggly line here.
Is there a particular weight of thread that you use? So it's slightly thicker, so it's more show, or is it just a simple?
These are 30, I think, these ones. But yeah, I think a thicker thread really works well. It looks really nice to use a thicker thread. How many more minutes have I got?
You have got approximately 6.
Okay.
And 20 seconds.
Okay. I'll go to my second colour of thread then. Because I was going to use 2 different colours. I thought I'd use a light one and a darker one. So I've got this, like I say, I've got this pale yellow that I've been using. And now I'm going to go on to a purple thread.
Lena asked, do you ever have a problem with the needle getting gummy?
Oh, I haven't. I have to say I haven't had that problem. Been fine so far.
Bobby says her sister-in-law must see this. She just called her, but she doesn't know whether she's going to be able to get into the computer in time. Will we be putting it up on YouTube? Yes. If you go to our video library later today, it will be on our video library and it'll link through directly to the video. So and it'll be free to watch. So you can pass that on to your sister-in-law. And yes, I hope she does do the workshop, because I think we'll have a lot more time to go through things in a bit more depth.
I promise I'll do something that looks a bit more professional. So I'm onto my purple thread now, and I'm just going to do a bit backwards and forwards through the scene.
Anita says, enjoying this much more than I thought I would and finding it quite inspiring. I'm now wondering if I can have a go for a portrait. Thank you. So, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's the idea. The idea of this 45 minutes for me was to have some fun and just to, as you say, sort of enable people to think, well, actually, I can do this. I can have a go at that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer says, this is gorgeous. I'm watching, but cannot wait to have a go. The reflections are amazing.
Oh, I'm glad you think so. I am, yeah.
Well, you can really see the light of the sun coming through. Oh, no, that's the sewing machine light.
I'll stop talking in a minute.
When you're doing this, Katy, I mean, are you following, so obviously you're on the water at the moment, so are you kind of following what you would see as the sort of the ripples of the water with your sewing machine, and when you're in the sky, what sort of, is that sort of the contours of the clouds, or how do you?
Yeah, at the moment I am, because we've just made this out of strips, and I'm sort of just securing them in a way, although they are, as I say, secured by Rundle. It's just, I would normally follow sort of the lines a bit, but I would, if I had more time, I would definitely spend it on, like you say, looking at the ripples and getting some more sparkles in. I haven't got that much time, have I? So I'm just going to do.
I mean, if you wanted to, you could focus on one particular area. So, for example, maybe the sun or something. If you wanted to focus on that as the area of focus, and kind of do a little bit more in that area. I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah. I think I'll just go backwards and forwards a couple more times, and then I'll stop and just show you what I've done, and we can.
Okay.
Through.
I think in the workshop what we'll do is we'll take much more regular breaks to kind of have a look at the different stitching once we've done that, and talk about those sort of things. When I did the Arty Inspired class with Katy a few weeks ago, it reminded me a little bit, if any of you have seen one of our Arty classes with Carn Griffiths, where he uses ink and tea, but he does a similar thing with his ink, where he does the contour lines of the ink to accentuate his portraits and things like that. And in a similar way, Katy does that, but with her stitching rather than the ink lines. So it's quite an interesting thing. And again, I'd recommend having a look at that Arty Inspired one, because Katy shows some of her bigger works, and they're really inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got one of the bigger works of mine behind me. Okay, I'm going to move the sewing machine out of the way so that we can just talk a little bit about the stitching that I've done so far. Move this up, move it up. I'm just going to, again, give it a little press. So this, I don't know, can you see, where's my...
Can you move it across just slightly? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, this is an art in itself, isn't it? Using
it is
when you're not used to it. But I think you can hopefully see how I've used sort of the lighter thread mainly in the sky here, as I say. And what I would do normally, if I had more time, I'd probably use some white thread around the outside of this sun area, and again do some more halo stitching. Just when I say halo stitching, I just mean stitching around the outline and going bigger and bigger around it, just to give that sense of light dissipating into the cloud. That's what I would spend more time doing. And again, looking at these reflections in the sea, again, I would probably use some lighter thread to do some closer wavy lines, maybe a really pale lilac, and even some white that again would show those reflections. And I would also make this reflection into the sea of the light from the sun. I would make that a much tighter curl of fabric. Slightly worked better, I think, in the foreground. Across the sand. But here where I've used the purple thread, I've carried the purple thread over the orange. And I don't know if you can see in this section here, I've started to do a pattern which doesn't follow the lines, but might reflect sort of ripples in the sand that you might expect.
Yeah.
There's all these different things that you can explore with different color threads.
Yeah. Now, just before I kind of do a sum up at the end, I wondered whether you could just show us a little bit, just to give us a final inspiration, that picture behind you, the one that you did. So this, you might have thought that was a painting behind Katy, but this is actually a fabric landscape, and it just goes to show the sort of thing that is possible. I don't know. Yeah, can you get it on?
Put it beneath the camera. Oh, it's got a piece on. Oh, that's it.
I mean, obviously, this was not a 45-minute thing.
Yeah.
But it gives you the idea, and you can see in the sand there how, and also in the sea, how the thread shapes and patterns that Katy's done. And it's a bit like when I said at the introduction at the start, from a distance it looks like a painting, and then you get up close and it is actually a fabric.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
I don't know if can you see all the stitching into the fabrics?
Yes.
Yeah, and
yeah.
So I used the fabric designs to create a composition, but then I stitch in that extra sort of level of detail.
Yeah, which is incredible. And we go into that in a little more depth, actually, on the Arty Inspired class that we did a few weeks ago. So I keep mentioning it, but I would recommend it's free to watch, so you can just go and look at that on our video library, and it's really interesting. And the other thing that Katy talks about is how she catalogues and organises her fabrics, so it could be really useful if you're wanting to get more into this. So how did you get on? What did you create? What are you going to create? We'd love to see. As always, we've created a post on our Facebook page, and so you can just go to Facebook, type in Shopkeep Arty. The post for this particular class is up there, and just share a photo of your creation and have a look at what everybody else has done as well. It's always really fascinating. If you like what you see, give them a little thumbs up, make a nice positive comment. It's really nice to spread the love, so to speak. And whoever gets the most number of likes, we always feature them on our Saturday morning Arty Roundup email that we send out every Saturday. So it's really nice to just have a look at all the different art that we've had from different attendees throughout the week. Now, as we near the end of this show, if you've got any words of thanks you'd like me to pass to Katy, please write them on the Q&A. I can see that there's been a few starting to come in now anyway, or on the YouTube chat. While you do that, I want to turn my attention to our most important attendees, our patrons. Being a patron not only is the best way to save money on our exclusive workshop webinars or get access to our entire video catalogue, but the monthly contribution you make also helps to support our ongoing weekly free classes throughout the year. This week I've got some new patrons to welcome into our exclusive Arty community. I always get a little bit nervous at this because sometimes I have some names that I can't pronounce very well. I'm a bit embarrassed that I probably pronounced them wrong, so hopefully let's see how this goes. So I'll press the button of thanks behind me. There we go. And saying thank you to Anne Clark, Heather Tilbrook, Amelia, Elaine Waters, Sharon Allen, Sally Moore and Catherine Lawrence. It was actually pretty easy this week, so thank you so much for your support, and I know you're going to really enjoy all the special events coming up. In fact, this Thursday we've got a special arty class with no less than Graham Booth, live from Northern Ireland. Graham's a really popular artist with our regular attendees, so I know you'll really enjoy that. So there we have it for another special arty class. Before I go, some comments from attendees. Let me go back to Katy, and I'll finish obviously on her collage as well at the end. So Trina said, this has been really interesting. Many thanks to Katy. My computer is not close to my sewing machine or fabric, so I'll work later. Linda said, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you. I've got lots of ideas going around in my head. that's totally inspired then. Elaine said, thank you. Angela said, loved it. Thank you. Lynn said, thanks. Great demo, Katy. Might give it a go. Kim said, thank you, Katy and John, going to have a go later. Linda really enjoyed this. Lovely fabrics and stitching. Many thanks. Lena said, thank you, Katy. It was very useful and fun presentation. Anna said, thank you so much. Love your work, Katy. Tori, thank you so much, Katy. I registered for next week's Apple class and can't wait. Lynn, thank you, Katy. Your art is fantastic and you are really inspiring. Thanks for sharing your talent. Elaine said, thanks, Katy. Very enjoyable, clear and easy to understand. Liz, really fascinating. Thank you so much. Marion, thank you. Really fun session. Wrongly used interlining, but luckily remembered Bonder web was in the stash. Turned out in the end. Oh, well done. Kim said, this was great, Katy. Love your thread painting on the piece of art that was behind you. Thank you. Jennifer, many thanks, Katy, for the inspirational tutorial. I'll now raid my sack of clothes. Christine, thank you so much, Katy. Really enjoyed that and look forward to next Tuesday. Deanne, thank you, Katy. Your casual attitude and experimental approach makes it seem so doable. It is doable. It is doable. Yeah. Angela, thank you, Katy. That was really great. Anita, thanks very much. Patricia, thank you so much. I'm just gonna. Oh, I've got quite a few. Thank you so much. Amazing technique from Patricia. We'll have a go when I get some Bonder web. Chrissy, thank you so much. Loved seeing how you built it up. Susie, fabulous. Thanks, Katy. Els, dankjewel vanuit Holland. So I guess that's thank you very much from Holland. Brilliant. That is the end of another fantastic arty class, and thank you for joining us. I was now actually going to head over to New Delhi to join Megha Kapoor for her workshop webinar, but unfortunately she's contracted COVID recently, which has sapped all her energy, and we wish her a very speedy recovery, and I'll liaise with her and for those of you that booked that workshop, and we'll reschedule at a future date, hopefully very soon. Anyhow, it's goodbye from me, but obviously thank you so much for sharing your time and talent with us to Katy. Thank you.
Thank you for all those lovely comments. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you. Big round of applause, I think. Brilliant. Thank you, Katy. Have a great day.
Yes.